Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Phil Karp. I'm a Principal Knowledge Management Officer in the Social, Urban, Rural, and Resiliency Global Practice of the World Bank. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this consultation session. This session is being jointly organized by the Tokyo Disaster Risk Management Hub and the Social, Urban, Rural, and Resiliency and Water Global Practices of the World Bank using the platform of the Tokyo Development Learning Center. We're honored to have a distinguished group of experts and practitioners on urban flood risk management assembled for this event, with participants joining us from Beijing, Colombo, Dhaka, Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, Jakarta, Manila, Tokyo, and Ulaanbaatar. I'll be introducing the sites in a few minutes. We're also live web streaming this event through the Urban Floods Community of Practice, which you'll hear more about in a few minutes. To begin, it's my pleasure to invite Mr. Yasuke Sukagochi to formally open the session. Mr. Sukagoshi is the World Bank's Special Representative for Japan, and in this capacity, he leads the World Bank's institutional relationship with the Japanese government, partners, and stakeholders, and oversees the operations of the World Bank Tokyo office. Mr. Sukagoshi has had a long and distinguished career in Japan's Ministry of Finance, holding a number of important positions, including Director General of the Tokyo Customs, Executive Director for Japan at the Inter-American Development Bank, and similarly at the African Development Bank. He also worked on Japan-U.S. finance and trade relations as Chief Representative of the Japan Center for International Finance in Washington, D.C., and has represented the government of Japan in a number of important international organizations and working groups. So it's my pleasure to give the floor to Yasu-san.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Phil, and good morning to all the sites and all the participants here in Tokyo. And I'm Yasu Sukagoshi, and World Bank Special Representative in Japan, and it is my personal privilege and honor to open up today's consultation event for commemorating the launching of the Community of Practice on the urban flooding. It is great to see so many experts, key government partners, and the World Bank task teams working on this very complex agenda being connected today. And some of you may wonder why Special Representative in Japan is with you. So, and please allow me first to give a brief background. My function is centered on maintaining and enhancing our good partnership with the government and other stakeholders in Japan, and responding to their firm commitment to the World Bank's initiative in disaster risk management is a significant part of our cooperation. In February this year, the World Bank and the government of Japan launched a joint program which was created following their 2012 Sender report in order to connect the global expertise in mainstream disaster risk management in national development planning and investment programs through the technical cooperation. As a part of this program, a platform called Disaster Risk Management Hub Tokyo was established in the World Bank's Tokyo office. Its purpose is to connect Japanese experience and knowledge with global expertise. We have Yuka Makino, Jack Campbell, and Kate Kaneda, Takao Ikegami with us. They are initiating the hub activities. And Mika Iwasaki and myself in the Tokyo office are honestly supporting them. Now, to return to today's subject. As you know well, that among all natural disasters, floods are the most frequent one, which is causing the widespread devastation, economic damages, and the loss of human lives. Urban flooding is becoming increasingly costly and difficult to manage as low and middle income countries transfer to urban societies, which are higher concentration of people and assets in the urban areas. We all have known that many of the Asian countries have still been suffering from urban flood. As Bangkok in 2011, Dhaka 2012, Jakarta 2013, and other many examples show its serious and urgency for solution. Actions to reduce flood risk need to employ tools and techniques to extrapolate current trends and drivers into the futures, to assess the alternative scenarios, and to build strategic, integrated appropriate across different sectors. The World Bank has issued a book titled Cities and Flooding in 2012, of which Abbas with us in Beijing, I think, as a co-author. The book contains over 50 case studies on the management measures and the procedures from across the world and illustrate the key policy messages. They demonstrate what has been implemented in the wide variety of urban contexts in order to meet the challenges of dealing with flood risk. In line with these efforts of World Bank and the joint program with the government of Japan that I mentioned earlier, a community of practice specifically focused on the urban flood issues has been recently established. This COP is jointly sponsored by the World Bank's global practice of social urban rural and resiliency and the global practice of water, with the support from the Global Facility for Disaster Reaction and Recovery, GFDRR, the Disaster Risk Management Hub Tokyo, and the Tokyo Development Learning Center, TDLC. Today's consultation dialogue is an inaugural event for the community of practice. It provides a very good example of how the expertise and the resources of the World Bank's global practices, the Tokyo Disaster Risk Management Hub, and TDLC can be leveraged to facilitate the effective knowledge exchange and the sharing the experience, connecting the experts and the centers of excellence around the world. I hope that through this consultation exchange, the experts from Japan, the World Bank, and participating cities will not only learn from each other, but also will make connections and improve understandings that can enhance the impact of the World Bank's operational engagements in the area of flood risk management. We look forward to product discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yasu-san. It's now my pleasure to introduce Abbas Jha, who's joining us from Beijing. Abbas is a practice manager for urban and disaster risk management for East Asia and the Pacific within the World Bank's Social Urban Rural and Resiliency Global Practice, where he's responsible for managing a global team of professionals that provide oversight for an integrated portfolio of financing and knowledge solutions for World Bank clients. And as Yasu-san mentioned, he's one of the co-authors of a handbook on flood risk management. He's a specialist in disaster risk management, infrastructure development, and use of open data for better service delivery. He's been with the World Bank since 2001, leading work in various regions of the world. Prior to joining the World Bank, Abbas served for 12 years in the Indian Administrative Service, working in the Federal Ministry of Finance and later in the state of Bihar. So let me invite Abbas to make some further introductory remarks. Over to you, Abbas, in Beijing.
Thanks, Phil, and thanks, Yasu-san, for those very useful opening remarks. I can keep my remarks very brief, given that we have so many experts around the table here in Beijing and across Asia. Urban flooding, I think, is perhaps one of the most pressing development problems that we face today. If you take, say, just the last 5 years, and you look across Asia, just Asia, you would see major flooding events across China, across Vietnam, in Vientiane, in Mumbai, So practically every major city in our region has been affected by this. And it's a combination of factors that are making this problem worse. One is rapid unplanned urbanization. That is, I think, perhaps the key driver of this. So that's one. I think climate change is also making things worse because of sea level rise and other factors. Poor groundwater management. If you look at, say, Jakarta, one of our sites that are connected today, Jakarta is actually sinking 10 times faster than the sea level is rising. And that is because of poor groundwater management. This is a classic wicked problem, which, for those of you who perhaps have not heard the term before, the wicked problem is a problem that doesn't have any corner solution. They are only bad solutions and less bad solutions. And this requires many sectors to collaborate together. It cannot be urban development, it cannot be water, it cannot be environment. It requires all of us to come together for the solutions. Paul and I were discussing before we started, and frankly, any project or that requires just one sector to work on it is not interesting, and I think the clients don't want us there. They require us to work together across boundaries, across sectors. And we're seeing that increasingly in China and in other countries as well. I'm really happy to see Dhaka and Colombo join us for this. I know that Colombo has a major World Bank funded flood risk management project. Dhaka, I know, is preparing one. And of course, we have our own EAP sites like Hanoi, Ulaanbaatar, I think in 2010 had the worst flooding in the last 50 years. So this is a problem across the countries. So I really look forward to a very good discussion. And hopefully we can come back on using this urban flood community of practice as a platform to deliver just-in-time solutions for our clients. And I'll leave it there. Thank you. And back to you, Phil.
Thank you, Abbas. Before we invite our first expert here in Japan to present some lessons from Japan's flood risk management experience, I want to do just a quick go-around of the sites connected so everyone's aware of who we have around this big virtual table here in Asia. I'm going to go alphabetically, beginning quickly there with Beijing, since we already have the mic open there. Paul, can you just quickly let us know who's there in Beijing?
Well, this is Paul Percier, the program leader. I'm here with 5 TTLs from both the water and the urban team working a lot on flood risk management. I will leave the introduction of each of them for later when they ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Let me go next to Colombo and invite Soranga Soria, disaster risk management specialist, the World Bank, to introduce who's there in Colombo. Colombo, over to you.
Thanks, Phil. In Colombo office, we have a number of staff from a number of agencies. Starting from my left, we have the DRM representative from JICA Colombo office. And into my right, we have 2 directors from the irrigation department. We have the DRM focal point of UN Habitat. We have 3 engineers from Sri Lanka Land Reclamation and Development Corporation of the Ministry of Defense and Urban Development. They are implementing the World Bank Colombo flood risk management project, and we have number of, actually there are like 4 of us from the World Bank, and we expect some more people from the Disaster Management Center and the Ministry of Water Management. Thanks. Over to you, Phil.
Thank you very much, Colombo. Let me go next to Dhaka. Swarna Kazi, who's a DRM specialist in a World Bank office there. Dhaka, floor is yours.
Hello, good morning. We have representatives from government, think tanks, and the World Bank's Disaster Risk Management and Water Supply and Sanitation Program. Starting at the first corner there is from the Water Supply and Sewage Authority, independent researcher from the Water Supply and Sanitation Program. Next to me is from the independent think tank we have here in Bangladesh, the Institute of Water Modeling, from DRM team next to me, and from the Met Department. And at the end of the table is also from the Institute of Water Modeling. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me go next to Hanoi. I think our colleague Kathy Lynch is there. Kathy, you want to introduce yourself and anyone else who may be there in Hanoi?
Sure. I'm Kathy Lynch. I'm a senior urban specialist, and I am here with Len Dang from the. And I'm actually sitting in for Madhu Raghunath, who is the team leader for the proposed project in Ho Chi Minh City. She's unable to join us this morning. I'm here just to help facilitate the conversation with Ho Chi Minh City.
Thank you, Kathy. And speaking of Ho Chi Minh City, I want to invite Mr. Nguyen Hoang An Dung, Deputy Director of the Steering Center for Urban Flood Control, to let us know how many participants and what agencies are represented in Ho Chi Minh City. So over to you, Mr. Dung.
Xin chào tất cả các quý vị. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And my name is Nguyễn Hoàng Anh Dũng, the Vice Director of the Center for the Flood Management. Together with my colleagues, we have representatives from the Department of Transport, Ho Chi Minh City, Mr. Thế Hưng. On my right, Mr. Hai, the Director of the Project Management. This is a very special management to prevent the flood control with the fund from the World Bank. And we are very pleased to participate in today's discussion in order to share our experiences as well as to learn the best practices from the region. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dung. Let me go next to Jakarta. I invite my colleague Pak Iwan Gunawan, who's a senior DRM specialist, World Bank. Pak Iwan, over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. We are from Jakarta, and I think probably we are the only site that is not World Bank or GDLN. We are actually connected to the Jakarta Disaster Agency. You can see behind us is the operation center where the flood management is being managed. So we are at the center of the action. I'm pleased to inform that within the room we have about 20 participants. From the national government, we have from Ministry of Public Works, from the National Disaster Agency, from the Technology Agency, and then from the city of Jakarta, which is a province, we have from various departments, the Disaster Agency, Public Works, Research Agency, Information and Communication. And we are also pleased to also have colleagues from international partners. We have representatives of JICA from the Netherlands Embassy and also from the Jakarta Flood Project from assisted by the Dutch government. And of course, from the World Bank, we have both DRM and flood team, the task team leader for the flood mitigation project in Jakarta. Over back to you, Phil.
Thank you, Pak Iwan. Let me go next to Manila. We don't need to go any farther than Manila to recognize the timeliness of a conversation like this. Really, our thoughts go out to our colleagues and partners in Manila are facing the aftermath of Typhoon Hagupit. But let me invite Kathy Vidar to let us know who's there in Manila.
Hi, Philip. We are joined this morning by representatives from the government, mainly the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority and the Department of Public Works and Highways. And we are also joined today by our colleagues from JICA. And there are others who will not be able to make it today because the typhoon is still in the Philippines. It's still hovering around Metro Manila. So we really want to thank these guys for joining us today despite the typhoon. Thanks. And we're also joined by Yop and Ray from the water team. Thanks.
Thank you, Kathy. And last but not least, I'd like to invite Ulaanbaatar. Can we please hear Basra? Can you let us know who's there in Ulaanbaatar?
Hello, welcome everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce the Mongolia team. Today we have representatives from the government and also from the project funded by the World Bank. We have representatives from the Capital City Emergency Management Agency, also the flood risk disaster management project management unit staff, and also consultants who are working on the flood risk assessments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then finally here in Tokyo, We're joined by experts from the World Bank, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism, JICA, several city governments. And the group includes an expert panel who we'll be introducing in a few minutes. So as you can see, we really have assembled, as I said, around this big virtual table here in Asia, experts from a range of sectors, as Abbas mentioned. Flood risk management demands a interdisciplinary approach and cooperation of a lot of stakeholders.